for the second lesson, I'm going to show you how to throw a bowl on the wheel. Last time we did a cylinder. And what you're going to do first, you're going to make sure that your wheel is clean and dry. We're going to turn it on. And here I am, making sure that there's nothing on the wheel. Now, because I used a damp sponge to clean it off, I may want to come back and use a towel to just make sure there's not a lot of excess water on the wheel. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a ball of clay with our we're going to make a ball of clay, and we're going to we're going to scooch way up on the wheel and be very close with our knees, like right to the side of the wheel. Okay, so then now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of press that ball of clay on the wheel and make sure that it's got a good seal. But instead of making just kind of a dome, this time we're going to like press it down just a little bit, because we're going to make a lower down vessel. Okay, so I'm kind of patting it and pressing it on. We don't want it too flat, but it's almost like a little gumdrop here on the wheel. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to make the wheel go as fast as it goes with the gas pedal, and you're going to squirt some water on it to make it nice and shiny. Again, you're going to use the left hand as the holding hand, and you're going to have your elbow into your hip, and you're going to lean forward. Of course, you don't want to lean past the center because you'll push it off the wheel. So here I go. I'm pressing forward a little bit until the clay stops moving and jumping around. And so I'm using this part of my hand, and the other hand is going to be right here. And I'm going to be pressing down with that hand. I'm going to wedge on the wheel, so that means that I'm going to jump to each side. My elbows will be sitting on my thighs. We're making sure that it's nice and wet. If it starts really jumping around, that's okay. We're going to have this part of my hand and this part of my hand, and we're going to go ahead and catch it up top, and then we're going to press and get it back in there. And let's go ahead and wedge it on the wheel one more time. So I'm pressing with this part of my hand and this part of my hand, and now I'm pushing down again. And after you do that 2 or 3 times, it should be centered. If it's not, that's okay. And you can see that I keep on putting water on my clay, just to make sure that it's really lubricated and that it's not catching on my hands. See all this slip on my hands? That's really good, and that'll keep the clay better lubricated than plain water. So you want to make sure that during the throwing process your hands stay nice and messy and slippy and slimy. Okay? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to press down just a little more, and I'm going to make kind of a flattened dome, making sure the whole time that my clay is centered. Doing a little more centering here to make sure that it's very much, doesn't seem to be moving. It seems very evenly spaced around the center of the wheel. Now I'm going to hollow it out. I'm going to open the clay just like I did my cylinder. I'm going to put my 2 thumbs together and make a kind of cradle the dome with my hands, and I'm going to press slightly with my thumbs kind of starting to push together. And I'm going to stop because it's gotten dry in there, and I'm going to fill that little space with water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down here with my thumbs together, but I'm not going to go all the way to the wheel head. Of course, that would make a hole. I'm going to let there be just about this much space, so that the bottom of my pot is nice and thick. So here I go. My thumbs are together. The wheel head is still going very fast. and I've made a little hole in my pot. Now I'm gonna open the bottom and I'm gonna make it nice and flat. Because it's a bowl, it's gonna be a little bit wider. And I'm going to pull straight towards myself with my middle finger, maybe even these two fingers, but mostly my middle finger. And you're gonna hold it in place here because you don't wanna just pull it all the way out. You wanna keep it controlled. So I'm gonna pull straight towards my belly button. And I even kind of curve my finger like this. Okay, so here I go in here. And I kind of let it rotate around about 3 times in my imagination before I pull closer to myself. And of course you don't want to pull past the outside. So now what I have is a very thick sides. I'm going to take a measurement here and show you it's about this thick, okay? Now what I'm going to do, because it is a bowl, I'm going to pull it, I'm going to straighten out my fingers and I'm going to pull it straight like this. There we go. Now I'm going to get all the excess water out of the bottom with my sponge. And I'm going to slow it down a little bit. You can kind of see inside. I'm going to make sure that bottom, I don't want to mess with it once I throw my bowl, so I'm going to make it sure it's nice and flat and even. And I don't want necessarily a real ledge right here. I want it to be nice and curved. Okay, so when we threw a cylinder, we had our left hand that jumped on the inside and the right hand is on the right side, and we could have pressed the clay inwards. Now what we're going to do is press the clay straight upwards because the centrifugal force is going to pull it out like a bowl. And I'm using a 2-pound ball. So here I go. I'm kind of locking my fingers together to keep them still. This hand holds the clay in place and this hand presses outward. So here I am. It goes around about 3 times, and if it feels like you're dragging, just put a little more water on it. I have this kind of tucked into my pinky, or you can, I'm going to keep pulling again. Notice that I do not go up the top. We want to keep that nice and thick. I'm just sort of pressing at the bottom with my outside hand and then pressing with my inside hand. We're trying to keep it nice and even. Now we're going to slow down the wheel, medium speed. We don't want it to, if there's any extra water in the inside of the pot, we want to get that out. Now I'm going to go ahead with my right hand. I'm going to press right at the wheel head. And you can see I've made a little collar or ridge. Now I'm going to press until that ridge starts traveling up the pot. And I'm still going straight up. I'm not angling in. It's still pretty thick on the bottom and a little bit thinner on the top. So I'm going to even that out. I'm going to try to make it the same on each side. So here I go. I'm going to press one more time. And if at any time you feel like it gets too dry, then you need to stop, put some water on, and keep going. So right now what I have is I have a very wide cylinder. And now I'm going to stretch and mold the pot, and the top is, I haven't really touched the top, it's just thinned out by itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sponge, and I'm going to put the sponge on the inside, and that's going to help me shape the pot. So here I go with my left hand on the inside, and I'm pressing outward. And with the outside, I'm just holding it in place to make sure that it doesn't get off center. The pot is going at a moderate rate, that it's not too fast. If you go too fast, it'll kind of jump off center. Now I'm going to do it one more time. What I'm trying to do is making sure that this bottom part right here has a nice even curve. So I'm going to start right at the bottom and I'm going to press outwards. We're kind of just stretching the clay. Again, if you feel it getting dry, I'm not pressing together at the top, I'm just letting it stop. So now I have a bowl that I'm pretty happy with. I'm pressing down the inside. I want to make sure it's nice and Now you can use a wooden tool. There's a lot of different shapes of wooden tools, but if you want to, you can kind of hold this like that and get rid of the texture. Now what you have is a bowl. I might take a little bit on the top. Typically with bowls, you really don't want to touch them once they're off the wheel necessarily. You want to keep them nice and smooth. I'm going to introduce a new tool, and that tool is the needle tool. Okay, this is the needle tool. And the needle tool is a great tool for this particular thing. You're going to hold it like this, and like you're going to write. You're going to go on the right side, and I actually make sure that my elbow is centered like on my thigh, so I keep it nice and still, and I'm going to make the wheel go, and I'm going to slowly, you can see, you're going to make a little line about 1/4 inch up, and what we're doing here is we're trimming the excess clay from the, so I'm going at an angle, I'm going to do it in the air right here. So I'm just kind of leaning towards it. Now I'm going to go straight flat against the wheel head, and I'm going to stop the wheel. I'm going to kind of take that, and this will help you remove some of the excess clay at the bottom of your I want to take this off while the wheel is still. Okay, so then we're going to use our wooden tool. We're going to go again, and you notice that I did not put water here, and I'm not using my hands, I'm using tools. So I'm going here with this great angle right here, and I'm kind of cleaning up the little clay pieces that were stuck to the pot. Now later we're gonna trim the pot up from the upside down, but this is basically done. Again, here's how you take it off. You put that water on the pot, and you take your wire tool. In fact, this is just string, but it's not a wire, but that's okay. And then you're gonna press your fingers right here, and you're gonna pull towards yourself. You should see the wire go underneath. If the wire goes through the pot, that means that it was too thin, and you're gonna have to try again. Okay, so here I go. I'm gonna go one more time, and I might even do one more time, and you can see that it's moved slightly. Now is the time when I'm going to dry my hands, and I'm going to use my fingers like, see how it is, like pinchers. And your bowl may warp, but when you put it carefully down on a piece of wood, it'll go back, and you can kind of mess around with it from the bottom. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half, so you can kind of see what we're looking for here. So I trimmed off all that bottom. It came up that it has a little bit of a thickness here. It was really actually a lot thicker down at the bottom. You can see because it should be a little bit on the thick side on the bottom. So don't worry about getting it too thin. And the walls are very even, and you can tell it was centered. Like I said, there was more down here until so more is better. Then if it's too thin, it might break in the kiln. Okay, so that is how to create a bowl. A little bit more flat, the sides moving straight up instead of angled in, and then using a couple little different tools to make the curve in the bowl. So it's a lot more stretching the sides and only a few little times where you're pulling. So right now I'm going to clean it off, and that's how to throw a wool.